Hey guys, Ralph here, True Power Trumpet Fitness, and part two of the Steinmeyer interview. And we're going to talk about chops on this one. Once again, I'm not going to bother um, honking or anything. I'm going to get right to it because there's so much. And again, I talked to him for close to an hour and a half, and I don't know about him, but I could have gone another hour and a half and just been fascinated. What a life. What a life. Musical life. Amazing. Anyway, with that said, did you do your homework? Did you go and listen to him play on YouTube? I'm getting sentimental. Did you hear that? How about Ice Castles? Did you hear that? How about Spain? Did you hear that? Did you hear those articulations? Did you hear that tone, that power, that range, that endurance? And did you keep in mind, like I asked you, he never had a lesson in his life? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? That is a gift from the gods. That is just a gift from God. And Dave, if you're watching this, and I hope you are, I hope you realize the gift you got. Because us mere mortals, I spent 45 years of my life trying to figure out what you had at 12 years old. I think that's absolutely amazing. Absolutely startling. So anyway, chops, here's the thing. Now remember, this is a guy never had a lesson, never had a routine. Okay? Okay? Now, I was a little bit leery when I heard that because I can only talk for myself, my experience with Mel Broyles, who did have lessons. There's no question about that. But his chops were just so natural. It was beyond belief. And he couldn't tell me what the heck he was doing. The only thing he told me in how many years and how many lessons I studied with him, and just dying to get the mystery of chops. Okay? The only thing he told me, this is Mel Broyles now, Ralphie, you got to play with a tight asshole. Okay. Now again, I was constipated for 4 years. There had to be more to it than that. So anyway, again, little skeptical when he started, but he did have some very, very, very telling things that feed right into what we're talking about. Right into what we're talking about. Now, also, I want you to keep in mind when we're talking about this, he said, I'm going to say at least 3 times, maybe even more. When I go up to that microphone, that's the last thing I want to be thinking about. You know, my jaw angle or where my tongue's supposed to be. He doesn't want to think about it. He's thinking about music and just letting it flow. Anyway. Okay, let's start with equipment. He always used small equipment, both the trombone and the mouthpiece. Up until, I believe, airmen of going into the service bands, whatever, he used a Bach 15C, which I believe is one of, again, I'm not being a trombone player, one of, if not the smallest Bach mouthpiece made. It's very small. Very small. And he was using a Martin student model trombone. Okay? No F attachments, no bass trombone throats or leader pipes, or just stock Bach and Martin. That was through high school. Now remember, he had all the Tommy Dorsey solos nailed on that equipment. Okay? Now he also said that he feels he could play all the solos, Ice Castles, Tommy Dorsey, everything, on any equipment you gave him. Okay? Now, I'm not doubting him one bit. I can guarantee the big bass trombone with the big mouthpiece is going to make Ice Castles a little bit more of a struggle. Maybe I'm wrong. And I do think the virtuosity of that, I think there is a discrepancy between trumpet and trombone. Trombone, so much more vibrating matter, and in the mouthpiece itself, you do have a little grace period where trumpet players don't. That's it for the trumpet player. That's it, as opposed to this. So in that regard, you trumpet players, I'm thinking there is probably a little bit more leeway with the mouthpiece, with the trombone, as opposed to the trumpet. But with that said, the genius that is Steinmeyer, I don't doubt for a minute he could take a bathtub and play whatever he wanted. Don't doubt for a minute. Would it be more work? I bet. I mean, it would just have to be, right? Anyway, one of his first recollections was that when he was playing basketball, he fell and chipped his tooth as a kid. I think it was middle school, okay? And he goes home and grabs his trombone and tries to find a spot where it didn't hurt. And then he just started to push air. That's what he said. And he used that term, pushing air, a lot. I'm going to say 4 or 5 times. Okay? Now, I'm going to go out on a limb here. And I don't mean to put words in his mouth, but I'm going to interpret a little bit. I can almost guarantee he meant compressing air, just putting in a different vernacular. Compressing air, which is all we talk about, compressing air. Not huge amounts of air. Now, that's another thing. You go back and watch those YouTubes if you don't want to take my word for it. Guys, he's barely sniffing. And he's off. He's off. He's not. And I'll tell you what. No, that's not what's going on. Putting huge amounts of air through the horn. No. That's not what he's doing. That's not what he's doing at all. Now, I actually told him that when I was in college in New York City, Joe Alessi in the New York Philharmonic had just gotten the job, and he was on the faculty at the Mannes College of Music where I was teaching, as was Per Brevig at the Met, and Alan Alstrander and some other people. Okay? Now, and each one of them proposed an enormous trombone, an enormous mouthpiece, and just huge amounts of air. And I'll tell you what, man, his students, and I'm not talking about them, they made it work. But his students were just blasting their brains out. And, in a Tchaikovsky symphony, just killing it. And they couldn't play bolero. Dave could play bolero up an octave. Yeah. E above W. Yep, absolutely. Okay. So, little air and smaller equipment. Okay. Now, when he got into the military bands, he went to a King, I have it written down here, a King 2B, which is again, Alessi would call it a pea shooter. Okay. And he started getting away from the Bach 15C a little bit and fooling around with some Warburton mouthpieces and all that sort of thing. Okay. And he told a story. Now, check this out. You talk about confidence in your chops. He was at a gig once, and a friend of his, a trombone player, had this Warburton custom model made just for him. And he said, let me play a few notes on it. So he played, geez, felt comfortable as could be. So he goes and it was a recording session. And he goes and does the recording session that had an upper register solo. It might have been Tommy, I'm not sure what the solo was, with the new Warburton mouthpiece. Now think about that in confidence in your chops. He didn't play the thing 5 minutes, and he went and did a flawless performance recording with this mouthpiece. And he said, man, it felt so good, but it felt like there was only one lip in the cup. So it's not, but that is confidence in your chops. Unbelievable. But again, I do not believe in big mouthpieces. I don't. Now, he believes that he can play big mouthpieces for whatever he needs and big equipment, but he prefers the smaller, okay? And he asked me, he said, what problem do you have with the Bach mouthpiece? And again, we're on Skype, and I told him about the grip that we're trying to get. And Bach mouthpiece with the bowl allows you to collapse in, okay? And basically people that are playing Bach mouthpieces are playing, trumpet players anyway, are collapsed. He agreed with me completely. The kids, he says he sees them collapsing in, and he talked about keeping the chops back in this position. Okay? So the grip and everything, exactly the same. Okay, now, here's another one. Do you need to warm up? No. Didn't even hesitate. Do you need to warm up? No. And he says, now I noodle around with stuff before the performance, but I said, so in other words, there's no such thing as stiffness and soreness in your lip that you have to work out? No. He thought I was crazy. He didn't know what I was talking about. Okay? We're getting close to the end here, and I got to get going again. There was so much. Okay? Never had a warm-up. Actually, I had a funny story. Henry Mancini, before a job, heard him noodling around on some high thing. He came up to me and says, I'm never going to write that. Because it was an octave above anything that anybody would write for trombone. Now, here's the thing. Check this out. I said, so what are you doing with your tongue? He said, I don't know. And he says, again, when I go to that microphone, I don't want to be thinking about my tongue. And I said, okay, well, this is the crux of my whole system. And I just wonder if you humor me. I said, let me hear you spit buzz. And I spit buzz a little for him. And he spit buzz. It was perfect. It was perfect. The only spit buzz that I have heard that was that good was Jerry. And Jerry, when I'm talking over the phone, I literally spit buzz. It feels like it's jumping out of the phone. And even though I was on Skype, that spit buzz felt like it was jumping off the computer. It was so centered, so pure, so precise, and he was playing in trumpet registers. He wasn't flapping, no. So anyway, I said, okay, I know you don't like to think of it, but do me a favor, humor me. And I said, do it again and tell me where your tongue is. Same thing, thought a minute. He says, well, dang, a Florida Southern accent. Well, dang, I guess it is through my lips. Guys, he's playing like us. It's relaxed as can possibly be. You saw it. The tongue is through the teeth. He's not overblowing, using small equipment. And you listen to that tone. And you tell me, even on the smaller equipment, go back to YouTube and you look at that small equipment, and you tell me that beautiful lyrical tone wouldn't fit in the New York Philharmonic? Absolutely. And he could take, if he wanted to darken it up a little bit, he could take the same mouthpiece and go to a smaller trombone, and it'd be perfect. Perfect. And he wouldn't have to change the chops a bit. That's it, guys. That's it. The great Dave Steinmeyer. I'm running out of time here. Dave, I appreciate, if you're seeing this, I appreciate every second you did. And if there's anything I can do for you in the future, I owe you one. I owe you a lot more than one. Anybody in down in Florida, especially trombone players, if you're in the area, you're a fool. I know he teaches at the conservatory, at the university down there. I'm not sure if he takes private lessons, but you'd be a fool not to stop in, and pick this guy's brain a little bit. Anyway, that's that. We're definitely out of time. Eat and drink your fruits and vegetables, and live life with true power. Love you all.